everyone, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here with another PB&J card class, and I am really excited about this video. I'm going to be featuring for you 18 cards with my new favorite florals from Penny Black. So there are 3 new stamp sets that have cutout dies available that I am just over the top in love with. I went crazy making bunches and bunches of cards with these, and there are so many different possibilities for how you can use these. So you can really get your money's worth and your creativity can just go crazy with them. So let me show you first the 3 stamp sets that sparked all of this for me that I just love. This first is 31-063 Beautiful, and it does have the cutout dies available. You get these awesome teacups that are sized perfectly to fit the flowers that are coming up next, and they have this really awesome like postage look to them as well. So perfect for handmade cards. This is 31-062 Overflowing. So you're getting these amazing flowers, just beautifully illustrated. Also some stamp postage elements, and they have the cutout dies available. And I forgot to pull out, there's also cutout dies for those postage, small postage elements as well. And then the third set is 31-064 Blooms. Also has those great postage elements, and cutout dies are available for these. And I didn't pull it out, but there are cutout dies included for those little postage elements as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I painted these blooms. So if you don't want to watch a whole bunch of painting, just fast forward. But if you want to see how I've painted these, I'm going to show you one from each stamp set. So each flower I'll show you, and then the cup as well. And then at the end I'm going to show you all of the different card ideas. So I've stamped with Memento Toffee Crunch all of my flowers. Then for the cups, I stamped with Memento Toffee Crunch and also Shadow Gray on top. Just made that cup just a little bit darker. So this is the look, the Memento Toffee Crunch, I like to do for sort of a no-line watercolor look. Faux no-line. It's pretty easy. You can still see the lines. That's why I like it. And I wanted to see more on the cup, so that's why I did a layer of shadow gray. I stamped them in my MISTI stamp positioning tool onto Canson 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. And I did it in the stamp positioning tool because there is some texture to that paper, so that let me stamp it more than once. Now I'm going to paint all of these using my Distress Ink Reinkers used as watercolors. So I just put them in a little palette there. I think I picked that up at Walmart or Target, just super cheap. And I just drip them into the palette. It's a very concentrated, it's Reinker, so it's a very concentrated. Off to the side, off camera, I have a cup of water and also a paper towel that's folded up so it's pretty thick. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the concentrated color on my paintbrush from the palette and put it on the flower where I want the flower to be darkest. Then I'm going to blend that out, and I'll rinse off my paintbrush off camera, dab it on the paper towel, and go back and blend that into a lighter color. I can also add another color with it, like I did a little bit of dried marigold with the picked raspberry and fired brick on this. What I'm doing now is I've taken an extra small journaling Faber-Castell PITT Artist pen that's waterproof and just went over those details before I am painting. It's a waterproof pen, so you can do it at the end or you can do it beforehand. So here's that process. I've picked up the concentrated color, rinsed off my brush, patted it on a paper towel, and then I'm just blending that out so I can get a range from dark to light. Now this is how I like to do this no-line look. And then I'm going to, while it's still wet, put in a little bit of barn door or fired brick Distress Ink Reinker, just a red to darken that up wherever this petal would be going underneath another petal. Then I've grabbed a little bit of dried marigold just up at the top of that petal. And then you can see along that one edge I'm actually leaving some white. So that just adds a lot of life to the image and also adds to the depth of those petals, like one going under another. Now, if you don't want to do this as a no-line watercolor, or you want just a very simple watercolor or coloring in on this, what I would recommend is just stamp it in either a black or like an archival watering can. That's another great ink color. It's not quite as dark as black, so it's just a little bit softer. And then you can just paint these in. Just a flat wash of color would look very beautiful because the illustrations are so pretty that whether you like to do a lot of shading or you don't, your card is still going to look really nice. Now what I'm going through and doing here is just lightening this up a little. So this was dry. I'm just re-wetting it with my paintbrush. Then drying off my paintbrush on the paper towel and just lifting some of that color. So if you get a color you're not happy with or it went a little too dark for you, you can always go back and do that. Now I will paint the leaves. I've got Evergreen Bough Distress Ink Reinker. I'm putting that down where I want the color to be darkest. Then I've rinsed off my brush, patted it on the paper towel, and I can go back and blend. Now I will pick up Forest Moss and put that again where I want it to be darkest, right on top of that Evergreen Bough. Those two colors really play well together. I love those two. Mixed together, I can add a little more Evergreen Bough if it starts to get overtaken with that Forest Moss. And just with my paintbrush that is not too wet, that's been patted dry on that paper towel, I can mix and blend that. Now, I will have for you down in the YouTube description box below all of the exact colors I'm using, and I've separated out per flower. So if you really like a certain combination, you can easily find that down in the YouTube description box below. I'm also listing and linking all of the Penny Black products that are used on these cards. So if you love these as much as I do, you can easily find them in our online store. Now I'm painting in the cup. Oh my goodness, I just love the postage element of these cups because even if you're sending this to someone who's not a tea drinker, you're not a tea drinker, it still has that snail mail card handmade postage look to it, which I think is just so perfect and kind of gives a vintage feeling to these flowers too. And again, by stamping it in that Memento Toffee Crunch and then just stamping that shadow gray on top, it's a little bit darker. The lines are a little bit darker than you saw on the flowers, but they still kind of recede to the background and look subtle. So once those were all colored, that is what they look like. And remember, I'm going to show you at the end of the video what I did with all of these stamps. 18 cards, lots of different ways to use these. Now the flowers are sized to fit, so they're coming out of the cups, which I love, but you don't have to use them that way either. So they're a really great investment, and just really you can think of so many creative ways to use them. They're really fun. So here again, this was stamped in the same way using the Memento Toffee Crunch ink onto the Canson 140-pound watercolor paper, and I'm just painting it in using those Distress Ink Reinkers used as watercolors. I find that the Toffee Crunch ink and these Reinkers used as watercolors, they when that ink goes over the stamped ink, it kind of takes on the color that you're painting with. So I find that I really like to use these together for a no-line look, because it's not hard to see. You can see where you're painting. If you go over onto that line, it just picks up the color of your ink, so it keeps it that same tone. Now any petals here that are touching, I'm going to dry it before I move on so they don't start all blending and bleeding together. So I'm putting some scattered straw color down, and then I'm picking up a little bit of Rusty Hinge to darken that up. And again, such pretty flowers. I love that the lines on these illustrations are detailed enough that you see the movement and the charm of the flowers, but open enough that if you love to paint or you love to color or you just love color, there's room to infuse them with whatever colors you want. So we'll just get the center here of this flower using some gathered twigs. Distress Ink Reinker. And again, everything I'm using, paper, paintbrush, ink colors, stamping, ink pads, all of that's listed for you down in that YouTube description box below. I'm also going to list and link for you a video where I show kind of answer frequently asked questions to my watercoloring technique that I'm using here, and also just show the process much slower. So I'll link that video for you down below. So if you want more information about that, or you just want to see things slower and with more explanation, you can find that video linked down below as well. So here I'm just doing some peeled paint onto the leaves and the stems, and I'll just continue painting all of the flowers exactly the same way, and this is what they look like when they are done. So we'll move on to these gorgeous, gorgeous tulips. These are part of that overflowing stamp set. So those first two flowers are from the Blooms 31-064, and it has a cutout available. Now these next two flowers are from the overflowing 31-062 stamp set. And again, I'm picking up that reinker color, putting it where I want it to be darkest when it's just saturated and concentrated right out of my palette. Then I rinse off my paintbrush, pat it on the paper towel, and go back and blend that out to light and leaving a little bit of white on the tips. We'll do that down here again, same process. Again, you can see with these tulips that, again, you get the charm of this like sketchy vintage looking tulip, but the openness to go in and really let them be bursting with color. And if you don't want to do this no line technique, you do not have to. You can stamp them with a darker color and just put a wash of color, one color, on them. Leave a little bit of white at the tips and they will look really charming and kind of have a storybook look to them. Also, if you love Copics or you love colored pencils, whatever kind of color medium that you love to use would work with these. I'm just showing them in my current favorite way of painting and adding color to my stamped images. So I'll show you another tulip here, just so if you have the stamp set you can see exactly how each one of these can be colored in. It's not the way you have to do it, but just how I did it. Now the sizing of these stamps is excellent. So they are big enough to really make an impact on your card, but they leave room that you can pair them with those cups, or as you'll see in a little bit, some other ways that you can use them. So they're really a wonderful size. I mean, I'm just over the moon excited about these. I love these stamps so much. They have a similar feel to those florals that came out when we, has it been a year or two, when we came out with our posted stamp and cutout die that I use all the time, but they have a whole different sizing to them, different flowers, and a collection of flowers, you know, like a bouquet of that flower. So again, just so pretty, fun to paint, fun to use. I'm just following that same process here. I'll show you how I do a leaf, putting that evergreen bough on, blending it out with my paintbrush and water, then adding in that forest moss to darken things up, and rinsing off my paintbrush, patting it dry on the paper towel, and then blending that out into a lighter color. So once those are painted, and you're getting a little peek at the card there, there is how they look. But stay tuned, more to come where you can see all of the different cards and the card ideas. And again, if you don't want to watch all the painting, you can just fast forward to that. That is okay. So now again, I'm using that PITT Artist pen with the extra small journaling tip just to go over those little details, a stamen inside of there, because I do not want to have to paint those. I have a lot more control with my with that little fine tip marker than I would with my paintbrush. Also because they aren't stamped very dark, it would be hard to go back and paint them once I've added the color to the petals. So just using a waterproof fine-tipped marker works great for that when you're doing the no line look. Now if you were painting these, just stamped them in black or a charcoal gray, you would not have to do that at all. They would be dark enough depending on what ink color you used when you stamped them. So here you can see I'm putting down that darker color wherever a petal would be behind another one. I'm picking up from the palette where it's most concentrated and putting it down, then rinsing off my paintbrush, patting it on the paper towel, and then going back to blend that with that brush that's pretty much dry, maybe just slightly damp. That's what helps blend that out into the white dry paper. And look how full that looks. It's so pretty. I just love these flowers. So I'll just continue working here on this one. I'm using the Dusty Concord Distress Ink Reinker. Again, all the colors for each flower are listed down below in that YouTube description box. So if you look, this is third flower, it'll tell you what colors I used on that third flower. Not just a collection of all the colors used in the whole video. So I hope that is helpful for you if you have a specific combo that you want for a particular flower. So this petal is underneath even more, so it's getting quite a bit of darkness on it. You can see I'm jumping around and then turning my paper as well. So whatever's comfortable for my hand. And I'll do the leaf just like I did the others with the evergreen bough. And a touch of that forest moss. And we are almost done with the painting section here. So here's what that looked like once it was all done being painted. So here is the fun part with these cards. So the first set of cards I'm going to show you is just what I'm calling the beautiful combinations, where I'm using the flowers with those amazing beautiful cups that have those postage elements on them. And what I've done is I've just gone to my stash and pulled in my frame die cuts just to add a little extra detail. So I've got the Dainty Dashes stackers, Frame It, zigzag stackers, semicircle stackers. So you can go to your stash, get your favorite frame die cuts or pick up a new one and use it with these just to give a little bit of detail around the outside edge for the cards. And so now I will show you the cards where I've paired the flowers with the cups. So here's the first one. You can see I've used the cutout dies. I've done a little inking on the inside of that frame die cut, stamped my sentiment, and the card is complete. Here I've put the card with the Frame It die and a little inking on the inside, and I've popped up those flowers and the cup on that frame. So you can mix and match which flowers you want with which cup, and there's just so many possibilities. Here you can see those zigzag stackers with some inking around the outside. Now to do that, I just put a little postage tape, not postage tape, sorry, painter's tape around the edge of that frame die and then applied that ink using an ink blending tool and a foam pad. So those are the beautiful combinations. Now you can use these in another way. You can make one layer designs with these stamps. So you're going to go ahead and stamp them onto your card panel. All of these are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Stamp them onto your card panel. You can play around with the position or the place that you want them to be. You can stamp the cup plus the flower, or you could stamp just the flowers or even just the cups to paint in. And to finish these off, to give these cards a finished look, I'm using our Background Basics stencil set. So these are 1-layer cards using these same 3 stamp sets. So you can see here I've kind of twisted and turned that flower. I have used that stencil set to do some inking on the background, and I've even used those postage elements from the floral set on that background for some tone-on-tone stamping. Here I stamped the flowers along one side of the card, stamped them a couple times, painted them in, and again used that stencil set to add that subtle background inking. Here the tulips are along the bottom. I love that look. Sentiment, a little bit of that postage stamping. Here I've done the flowers and the cup, and I've used one of the round stencils to add some inking on the background. So 1-layer cards using those same 3 sets. Now you can do a stash mix and match. So go to your stash and find any alternative things, die cuts that could hold the flowers. So you can use those teacups, but I went to my stash and I had mason jar die cut, the berry basket, I love that one, and our all-in-one oval and all-in-one octagon die sets. And what I'm going to do is use just the flowers now and the cutout dies and put them inside these different dies that I had in my stash. So you can keep on using these in different ways. So I'll show those to you here in just a minute. I've also done some background inking with these. So here is that all-in-one octagon, and I've used the tulip flower and the die cut, the cutout die, and popped them inside that octagon. Here I've put them in the die cut basket. So I painted that, I did the stenciling on the background, and I was able to put them in the basket. Whole new look. Here I have that flower popping out from our all-in-one oval die cut. So again, it's not coming out of the teacup, it's coming out of an oval that's die cut into the card. And then finally, I used our mason jar die cut and added the flowers to that. And then you could do this with all the different flowers you could put into the mason jar. All the different flowers could go into the octagon or the basket or the oval. So you can just keep going with these. It's really, really fun. Next is another stash mix and match. So instead of alternative holders for the flowers, we're going to use some alternative flowers. So we're going to feature that Beautiful set and then go to our stash and pull out die cut flowers that can go in there. So I've got our Refresh, Layered Bloom, Flower Family, Ascending, Dignified, and First Bloom. So you can go to your stash or add to your stash with these and fill those cups with something else. You could even put a critter popping out of those cups. But again, 3 stamp sets we started with, and then you can go to your stash or add to your stash and keep going, keep creating. So I put all of these on our antique frame die cut background. I added embossing at the bottom, so just followed a card sketch. And then I've used the 4 different cups and filled them with those die cuts. I painted the die cuts with watercolors. So if you don't like watercoloring stamped flowers, watercolor your flower dies and put them inside of these Beautiful cups. Or you can then just get more out of it if you have this set. You could use these for Christmas. You could add poinsettia die cuts or sprigs or holly leaves inside. You can just keep on going and keep creating with them. Now we have another stash mix and match is our postage. So our posted stamp and posted cutout, I've been using like it's going out of style, but it's not. I keep on using these. This is it right here. It's a 3 by 4 inch transparent set, a mini set, posted and posted cutout. You can use these in so many different ways, but these flowers look amazing if you stamp them inside that posted stamp. So you're creating your own floral postage. So now you're going back to those floral stamps and putting them inside of the posted. So let's take a look at those cards. Super cute. Oop, there I have the daisies inside of there. And then I just wanted, so you can see this, I put that other card up there for size. I wanted to make mini cards. So I cut an extra posted cutout, scored it at the top, put adhesive along the top of that score line, and now I have a mini card. You could use that, or you could put it on a standard size card. Here is another one with those flowers stamped inside to create your own postage. You can make a little mini card with that. So pretty, great for like a gift tag. Just lots of ideas. So what I've done for you here at the end is still shots of all of those different card ideas that we have been talking about, just to give you a plethora of ideas, just to show you too how versatile and beautiful just these 3 new stamp sets are. I'm just crazy about them. So I hope you don't mind me featuring them in such a long video with so many cards. I would love to know, which is your favorite? Do you have a favorite version? or a favorite card that you've seen in today's video, leave us a comment down below. I read all your comments and I appreciate all of your kindness and encouragement here, and I just love this community that we have here on the Penny Black YouTube channel. So I thank you all so much for being a part of that. If you're enjoying today's video and you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell notification item or button so that you get notified every time we have a new video uploaded, so you won't miss anything if it doesn't pop up in your feed due to the algorithm and all that kind of stuff. If you're following and you're subscribed and you've hit that notification bell, then you'll know you won't miss any videos as we come out. Also, remember, you can continue to connect with Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, as well as our website and blog. And I will list and link all of those for you down in the YouTube description box below. That description box below also has all of these products listed and linked for you, and all of the other supplies I use to make these cards are listed for you down below. So like stamp, ink, and colors, and all of that is there for you. Again, I thank you so much for watching. Happy stamping!